Welcome back to Bloodbath Tactics. Like Cass said, we haven't seen you guys for a while, so we hope you guys have been enjoying the battle reports. We very much enjoyed doing them. We've had to upgrade our setup as we go, kind of new lighting, new mics, new everything. But I think both me and Cass really like doing the podcast too. So
it's kind of exactly
we want to bring it back.
It's right where we want to be. You know, it's how this whole thing started, and it was a podcast. But the battle reports are fun. They're cool to do.
Battle reports are super fun.
Yeah.
Podcasts is where we get to dig down into the meta analysis. Obviously, it's just two very different properties.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope you guys are enjoying them. Thank you so much for everybody who's subscribed so far. I just checked it before we went live, or before we started recording this.
Mm-hmm.
We are over 600 subscribers now.
That's
Mr.
crazy.
Cass.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Everybody, we really appreciate you guys following, hitting the like button, all that good stuff. Just helps feed the algorithm, lets us know with your eyeballs and your thumbs up and stuff, what kind of content you like.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the battle reports? Do you want to hear about Grey Knights? Do you want to hear about, X faction? It helps a lot.
Yeah, and appreciate the feedback, and we try to get on faction experts all the time on certain factions because, as you can see from our battle reports, me and Ben only play certain factions, so we don't know everything, but we have a good handle of the meta, and we can see what's going on half the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to that point, we are going to focus on a little bit on, I guess, the current meta. Since the data slate, which, if memory serves, was, I think, the mid-ish of October. So we're probably...
Yeah.
Has it been a whole month? Maybe not quite a whole month, but
I actually had a GT right after that announcement. Obviously, it wasn't they didn't count those rules.
Right.
But because I was playing Sisters, essentially the list that I brought to that GT that day was 200 points over.
I was gonna say,
so I was playing with 2,200 points. Yeah, it was a lot more than that's when everything got nerfed there. So
yeah, and that's probably one big takeaway from that data slate is that Sisters just went up. Basically, the meta list for Sisters, and you know better than I do probably, but Cascaders went up. Mm-hmm. The Triumph St. Catherine went up.
Huge, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
That went up 40 points?
60.
60 points.
60 points, yeah.
And some people just still run it. They're like, cool.
Yeah, that's good.
But you're removing something for it, right, at this point. At 60 points, you're dropping something.
You use your chaff, essentially, right? And that's kind of what makes Sisters go. So it makes us a little bit more vulnerable to, aggro armies or those really, really aggressive armies, and I can't control the board state as much or score secondaries as easy. I have to be a little bit more conscientious with my pieces. Right, yeah, because you want to play the MSU game, but how much do you know off the top of your head how much it costs now? What is the cost of Triumph? $250. Yeah, it was $190 before.
Even that's a lot. That's a $250 is a big. She does a lot. She's a linchpin of the army, obviously.
She's a huge piece.
So yeah, her going up $250. I'll ask you, that's good. Sisters has probably got hit the hardest with points, I think.
I think Thousand Suns.
I was gonna say that was the other one on my mind was Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe in a point here or there either side to see count math wise who got hit the hardest. Mm-hmm. To me, it felt like Sisters. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Thousand Suns.
But the thing is with Sisters, they got hit pretty hard, but in a particular detachment. So all their big pieces got hit, but there's so many good data sheets in that codex that
of course.
you can navigate and find a different
sub something out, move something around, right?
Yeah. The main part of the show today is that we kind of want to get into what the meta is like now that we've actually sat in this new world with new points and see where the armies are kind of lying and seeing where the meta is changing. Not having a menace like Thousand Suns around, you can kind of consider doing different stuff, or not having Bringers of Flame for Sisters, you can consider different types of armies.
They're a good example of a mid-table bully, right? They're obviously a stat check, right, kind of army. And they saw very minor points changes.
Mm-hmm.
Canis Rex went up 15 points, which is totally valid. He's still amazing at 450.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are maybe looking at not running him because the points, all of our points got shifted a little bit and things are a little bit awkward sometimes because we're pretty tight on points. 15 points doesn't help us anywhere, but it can hurt you. right? It doesn't gaining 15 points doesn't help us, but losing 15 points hurts. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, but if an army like Imperial Knights or other like kind of mid-tier, mid-table bullies don't get nerfed and everything gets nerfed around them, the meta kind of falls. To them, right?
Yeah.
So that they by virtue of not getting nerfed get better, right?
And that's what we can kind of see. And I wanted to. So my point was that with Sisters, there's a major tournament out in England there, Coventry.
Yes, right.
And Steve Box there got second place.
Steve got second place. That's right.
Yeah, with the Army of Faith. So he's actually been running that detachment prior to
Was it
the
Army
updates.
of Faith or was it Hallowed Martyrs?
Army of Faith.
It was Army of Faith. Hey?
Yeah, it
and
was.
Remind me what that one does? Because I know Hallowed Martyrs is the double miracle dice.
No, that's Army of Faith.
That's Army of Faith.
That's
okay,
Army of
got
Faith.
it.
Yeah,
got it.
so he's been running that one even before the data update. He won a GT about a week before the point updates with Army of Faith. He was the first one to win it, and so
Cool.
this is community was like, oh wow, he won.
He's good. He's very good.
He's very good. He runs an academy, Vanguard Tactics, right?
He's so good. He coaches people.
He's so good. He wants to share his gift, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
In the Army of Faith, they have some unique stratagems. They can go up and down you with their jetpack girls.
Right.
With 1 CP at the end of the fight phase, they can just whoop, go. Then they have the Miracle Everywhere, so that's like an entire Triumph activation or Triumph aura.
Right.
So then Triumph gets another aura instead.
Right. Do you know off the top of your head if he's still bringing the Triumph in that list?
He is, yeah.
Really? He should still just do it, hey?
Yeah, he is. I said 6. Get that 6 Miracle
Yeah,
dice
getting
in
a
the
6
battle.
every battle round is just nuts.
Yeah, it's good. And he also runs a Magnifier too, or Magnifier.
Mm-hmm.
It acts kind of like his mini Triumph where he can reroll ones he doesn't like. So if he gets a 1
Right.
within 12, he can reroll
You
it.
can sub him out.
Yeah, it also gives it some durability to your units as well. So there's a lot of pieces that Sisters have that can adapt to the meta no matter what, I think. And they may have, gotten a little bit smacked around, but again, the codex is so deep and the data sheets, there's not really a bad data sheet on there.
No, certainly. Yeah, they're like the Sisters have the best rules. That's kind of like how Eldar were at the start of the edition. Eldar are also very deep, tons of good rules. They've seen enough nerfs now that they're definitely not going to be, top of the heap anymore. But interesting, we were talking about the kind of top dog meta bullies, Sisters and Thousand Sons. I think Thousand Sons, it's a good comparison between the two because Thousand Sons really not as deep, nowhere near as deep as Sisters. Obviously, doesn't have a book, right? So that's one kind of knock against them, right? They just have the index at this point. And aside from Magnus, Rubrics, the Vortex Beasts, all their characters, right? Araman, all the character, like single character, like infantry models, and Zangors. That's your list. Like what else are you digging deep into? Like Forge Fiends, maybe sometimes people are running them now, but
I think it's just their ability to cheat at the game with the Cabal.
right. So they don't have the depth of selection of units, obviously, but they do something that nobody else does, which is break the game. Like their Cabal rituals or whatever they're called. They're magic. They're magic. They're sorcery.
You're going against them like, my Cabal points. If I have 9, I just get 2 VP. What are you talking about? That's just one of my rules. Don't worry about it, right? Like,
I just cash them in.
It's obviously fake, but
That'd be
you
hilarious.
never know what the rules
Watch
are.
them
right?
come out with a codex, and you get to cash in like 20 Cabal points for 2 VP.
Yeah. Oh my god.
End of
How
the
can I
game.
generate so much?
End of the game. You just need 2 points. You're like, I'm not gonna even play my turn. Just boop boop. Just cash that in.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still very good. I think I've heard other people explain it this way, and this is I've played a fair amount against Thousand Sons. I haven't played them myself, obviously, but the explanation I heard, which is very succinct, I think, is you do have your core of units in Thousand Sons, right? And you have you because of how the Cabal points work, you kind of have to have the same core for almost no matter what list you're running. Because you have to have like this tipping point of Cabal points to be able to do what you want. You want a double move, right? You want a Doom Bolt. You want to do this kind of stuff, right? If you don't have enough Cabal points to do that, your army just doesn't work. So you kind of have to have this, 1,200 points, whatever it is, ready to go.
Cabal Boy generators. Yeah.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
Your Rubrics, your characters, your Magnus, you never leave home, obviously, without them. But what they've done with Thousand Sons, they've modified the points so much and kind of nerfed things and made the points increases so much that all of the extra chaff that an army like Sisters would have, Thousand Sons have so much less.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're paying so much for your core
Yeah.
that you need to have, that you only really have, like, not that I know intimately what their points cost are, but let's say you have
Well, Magnus himself went up.
maybe you had 800 points to fiddle faddle with.
Yeah.
You now have maybe 500 points to dick around with, right? That's a lot less chaff. It's a lot less objective play. And if you make a mistake as a Thousand Sons player, you get punished for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you lose a whole unit of rubrics in one turn, or if you lose both your Mulith Vortex beasts in one turn, not that they produce Cobalt points, but they're kind of like your tanky.
But they're your tanky. They initiate combat. They start pushing the game forward, right?
Yeah, so it's
you
like,
want a piece like that.
Man, I don't envy Thousand Sons players. They're a very good army, but god damn, is that a hard army to play?
Yeah. Well, once you get it, we get your reps in.
You're just good to go.
You're good to go. Get your reps.
I don't know.
That takes a couple
I know
years.
you're a better player than I am, Cass. If
No.
it would take me a long time. I was gonna try to put a
You're
number on
such
it.
a rules
It
guy,
would take.
don't
I
worry.
am a rules guy. That's true.
Yeah,
But
you
that's why it's hard on me because I got too much stuff going on in the head. I don't. You play by instinct. I play by the rules.
Yeah, this will work. Yeah, math dictates it's going to work. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah, no, I gotta like in real time decide how things are gonna work, and it's not always that good.
Yeah. Fine.
What else got hit? What else got hit in the points update? I'm trying to think. So I think
Dark Angels. The
Dark
Death Wings.
Angels.
That was cool.
Right.
So I still think that they're so good that you still kick all three.
Yeah, because they only went up 10 points or
We
something
have
like that.
250 now for the squad of 5.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think they're 250.
I think it
now.
was
they were
I think it was maybe a
225.
10 or 15 point bump for the 5-man unit for the knights themselves. Yeah.
Well, I remember when I was at the GT. I'm gonna get his last name wrong. It's Mark Van Berkel.
'Kay.
He was with us, and we were both sitting each other. Well, whose list went up more, right? And I was like, I think mine went up, honestly, 190 or something.
Who's playing the more illegal list
yeah,
right now?
and he was like, I think it was like 160 or 180, like, or we're the same. I couldn't remember the exact numbers, but like we were both sitting there like, yeah, we're kind of both playing with like 200 points
You're
more
on
than we
borrowed
should.
time right now.
Yeah, and he went 4-1 of the tournament.
Yeah, they're still super strong. Like
Yeah.
the Death Wing Knight data sheet it does carry that faction, that carries that archetype as it probably should. Like that's kind of their staple. It's like their cool unit.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a problem with it. It's strong.
They're tough. They get
But
in
it
there.
should be strong, right? Like what else? Like what's they're called? Their Brotherhood Squad or whatever. I don't know, Space Marine bullshit.
The Brotherhood Squad.
I don't know. There's some cool like inner circle companions.
Oh,
That's what they're called.
Companion-
Brotherhood Squad. It's the same thing.
yeah. I
Listen,
think-
it's all brothers. It's all companions and circles and
Yeah. And but like mainly the Deathwings are the ones that like, okay, come at me. I'm gonna start.
That's I think that's the defining unit. for
I'm gonna
sure.
hold off at turn 2 or 3, or maybe turn 3, and then come out and just really say, hey, come at me now.
Yeah.
Like, what resources do you have now?
Incredible data sheet.
Yeah.
Kind of sad that I guess the lion isn't the defining feature of the.
I think he's
Dark
seeing more play
Angels.
now. He's seeing a little bit more play now because he went down in points.
Yeah, he did go down. But I don't know. This is from again a non-Space Marine player's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Playing against Dark Angels, I don't see the lion as the defining piece of that army. I see the Deathwing Knights as the defining piece.
Sure.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I don't even know. I kind of forget what even the lion does. I know he has loan off.
He has loan up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else does he do?
I think he has, like,
he has a
3
2-up invulnerable save. Or no, sorry, it's a
No.
3-up invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Which is still crazy.
because he has the Emperor's Shield.
And he comes back. No, fucking Gilliman comes back.
Gilliman,
I get the
fucking
two of them mixed up because they're kind of the same.
Well, the lion's older. He's the first brother. He's the eldest.
He is
the
the
first
first
company.
legion.
Yeah.
The first company, the first legion. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so on that point too, that's why like the meta definitely changes.
Yeah.
And then it allows for other armies to kind of come through.
Mm-hmm.
One I want to kind of mention, and I still have no fucking idea what they do.
Let me guess.
Is Gene Stealer cults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GSC have seen a huge resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think, shoot, I'm not gonna remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a guy from Scotland. He was like the coach of Team Scotland. There's a guy who plays GSC and is like crushing it in Europe. Basically, he's like winning even before the data slate. He was like the reason GSC were even in the conversation at all.
Okay.
He's on the Stat Check podcast and stuff. His name is escaping me at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
But Innes. I
Innes.
believe his name's Innes.
Okay.
I believe he's Scottish. I'm sorry, Innes, if you're not Scottish. But Yeah. Why do you think GSC has seen a bump? Because they're like taking down tournaments. Like they're top, I don't know if they're top 5 like meta, but they're crushing it.
Well, I think they did something really, like before their little their nerf, they do something really well with like coming back and having that game of attrition. 3-inch deep strike is, I guess, in that particular detachment, is always something pretty important.
Yeah.
Those, I think they're called Ridge Lines. They're decent.
Ridge Riders.
Ridge Riders, yeah.
Yeah.
Ridge Lines are a type of truck.
Shout out to Honda Ridgeline.
They're a pretty sweet piece, but they come out with such swarms, and having that, that ability to come back on a 5-up, it's just like, hey, I was just hitting my 5s.
I think sometimes it's a 4-up. I don't play GSC that much, but
it's
yeah.
4-ups turns 1 and 2.
Oh, is that
turns
what it
3,
is?
4, 5. It's 5-ups. They come back. That's huge. And if you have like 20-man blobs, like, goddamn, like
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's they restricted that against Astor Mill.
Yeah.
In Crute.
I was gonna say it's a good point. They made that strat once per game.
Right.
But GSC just gets to keep doing it.
So you get to play with extra points again, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're easy to kill, but they dish out a lot of damage. There's a lot of weight of dice, and it's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And they have select attacks that really can push through. And those I forget what they're called, like the aberrants.
The aberrants.
Yeah. They're very strong,
hit hard melee guys. Yeah.
and they're super tanky.
Yeah. A fight, and they have access to fight on death. I don't know if it's on their data sheet or where it is, but I've seen them fight on death a few times.
Feel no pains and everything.
They got some real good rules, and I think the other thing that helps GSC a lot is they have access to increasing AP. I don't play them often, but I've seen like the different combos of like getting your little kind of chaff units up to like AP2, AP3. All of a sudden, like you're putting through some real damage on stuff that you can punch up, right?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't hurt these things, but if you're throwing AP2, AP3 at something, you're gonna get some damage through, right?
And with an army like that, it's a horde army, right? So you're really swarming and dominating the primary game.
Yeah, right.
And when you're dominating the primary game, with a bunch, like with a horde, it's hard. It's easy to block out secondary game as well, because then you can kind of throw a chaff to stop someone from their secondary game, and you can really, really get on the scoreboard on primary, and then stall the opponent's secondary,
right?
Which then you just win the game.
Well, and that's a good point. That's a very good point, because in Pariah Nexus there is a fair few cards that are like that don't complete until the end of your opponent's turn. Gives you a chance to respond. Well, if you're glomming up the board with a bunch of little dudes. Chances are you have a chance to throw something at something that's doing an objective.
Yep.
Right, like sabotage or recover assets or whatever.
Assets.
That's the kind of stuff, right?
And you can stop a defense stronghold even with a 3-inch deep strike.
Exactly.
Right, if they're not defending it right.
The other thing I heard from GSC players actually was I don't think this change was actually in this most recent data slate. I think it was the one before, and I don't exactly know how this works, but maybe like people in the comments can clarify. So previously, when a unit came back, you have to put down your blip, right? From what I understand is if you have deep strike on the data sheet, you can now deep strike.
Yep.
Now, do you deep strike onto the blip, or you just deep strike anywhere? I don't really know the interaction there.
Well, you have to just be 9 inches away from somebody.
Right. So you put a blip. So say my unit dies, it has deep strike. I roll the die, it comes back. I can now put that blip basically anywhere, and as long as the opponent doesn't like get close enough to kill it, obviously, like make the blip go away, I can use deep strike to go there.
Yeah.
Is that basically?
Or they can just deep strike anywhere, I think.
Whatever the case is. They previously could not deep strike with the returning unit, is how I understand it. Now they can deep strike, however that works, technically, mechanically.
Yeah.
It was like a footnote in the like, not like I said 2 data slates ago. That's a big change to how your army functions.
Yeah.
Like suddenly have access to that.
And it just punishes mistakes.
100%.
Right? And you're then playing this reactive game, but you're kind of playing it like, oh, well, I'm Hypercrypt or I'm Grey Knights or whatever. Like, no, I'm doing this.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I am the Grey Knights now.
I am the Grey Knights now. I'm the one doing this. I'm the one choosing this. And it's only because you killed my guys, I'm doing this. So some of the strategy is, you want to start waiting to turn 3 to start killing. You want to wait till turn 3 to start killing their guys.
Right.
Because at the 5-up, it makes it harder.
Sure.
Or don't kill them. Leave them down to 2 dudes.
Leave them on 1 dudes, 2 dudes, whatever.
If you can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then they can easily get around that by like forcing a fight.
Of course.
Right?
Running their guys in, get them killed, right?
Yeah, they can force it. It's just a very, very proactive, reactive game that is what Warhammer 40K wants right now.
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah,
they're doing
very
so
true.
well. And Kieran at the latest GT got second place
Legend.
with. Yeah, and he's so good. Trident Gold, those guys are awesome. The
whole Trident squad, yeah, nothing but good.
Oh,
for
so
those
good.
guys.
And
They're
like, even
amazing.
at that tournament, like it was like a lot of Calgary players, Edmonton players, most of them were the Trident Gold guys. And it was a very highly competitive tournament. And our friend Matt Sector, he's been on the podcast before, took the whole thing down with
it
Tao,
down.
Monka.
Yeah,
And we can get into that in a second here, but
Yeah.
I want to get done with Kieran here.
Give him his flowers.
Give him
Give the man
he
flowers.
Went 5-0.
Yes, he did. That's right. He did too, right? Yeah.
And it's just, and then I think his list went down like 100 points or something.
Right, which is a strange thing because we're seeing. So obviously this is like the previous data slate, and since the data slate they've been doing really well. The points decrease, I'm sure, helped, but they were already kind of creeping up in the meta, and then but they weren't doing great. Like their win rate was probably pretty low. So GW, good old James, in his infinite wisdom, is like give them a bump, and now they're just kind of crushing it, which is fine. It's kind of just how the ebb and flows go.
But then it's now when you're designing your list, you have to think about Gene Stealer Cults.
Yeah, which is tough for a lot of armies. That's tough,
and you got to understand that matchup because if you do want to go far in a tournament and you do want to be at these top tables, you're going to see it.
Yeah, you're going to hit one.
You're just going to see one.
And it's such a weird army too because it's like I play a lot of like online events too. It you see it online a lot because actually purchasing and painting Gene Stealer's Cult army on table in real life is kind of expensive and it's hobby intensive. Online you can just like zoop. I have a Gene Stealer's Cult army now.
And I'm practicing. Yeah.
Right. So it's good for practicing. It's good for playing online as competitive as online can be, which can be pretty competitive sometimes.
Well, I think Tactical Tortoise there, he runs those
T5, the T5S2 circuit. And stuff like
and the
that.
invitationals and stuff, right?
Super fun. If you haven't done that yet, it's super fun.
Shout
out to Tactical Tortoise.
He's
Trevi.
awesome.
Yeah, he's super good.
Yeah, he's always so on it with the rules. Hey, like the next day, I got this.
He is. He's all over. He does really good content. If anybody hasn't seen it already, Tactical Tortoise on YouTube. Not a sponsor, but super cool guy.
Yeah, just super cool guy. Trevi is his name.
Trevi is his name. Yeah.
I'm on his Discord. Yeah, I see it all the time.
In the Discord. I jump into the pods every so often when I have the time. Super fun. And
it's a great way to get some practice in.
Oh, it's super helpful. Like there's a pool of people you jump in a pod and you play like it's basically a little mini tournament that happens over 4 weeks. You play one game a week. Some people use it to practice new armies. Some people use it to test out new lists. Some people just do it to like hone their skills. Like it's all good, right? Like you're good to go either way. But the reason I bring it up, like I was saying, was with Gene Stealer Cults, for sure good. For sure you have to consider them in your list building. But I think in real, like in on table in real life games, the only thing like holding them back right now is they are hard to collect. Like they're hard to play, right? They're in the same kind of vein of Thousand Sons. They are a complicated technical army. Like it's not when like when Custodies are good, everybody just pays whatever it is, fucking $700 to buy a secondhand Custodies army, slap them down, run at people, and beat them up. It's not that.
Or Imperial Knights.
Imperial Knights, I would argue, are hard to play, actually.
But they're easy to get on the board.
You just don't want to get in combat. They're easy on the board, for sure. That's why, like, a crappy hobbyist like me, I'm just like, boom, Red Ocan Black, fucking do some details, go, get in there.
And they're out there.
I've got 7 models, let's go.
That's it.
But Gene Stealer Cults are not like that. You cannot just slap them on the table and be good at them. You actually have to put some investment of both hobby and skill and everything into it. So as much as they are good, I'd be curious to see how dominant they are, at least in our local meta. There's not going to be a lot of Gene Stealer Cults, I don't think.
There was 2 at
we in Calgary. In Calgary, we get to dodge Kieran at least, so that's good.
Maybe.
He's going to roll down.
He might come down.
He might roll down for this.
Yeah.
We haven't had a big local one in Calgary for a while.
We had the Orchard, 50 players.
Yeah,
that
was already a month ago. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, at the end of September, though.
Right. So we've been a month and a bit away already. And then
we had the Orchard. That was a pretty good one. Gordon. So sorry, Gordon. I'm going to forget your name.
That's right.
Gordon got 5-0, and he got second place.
That's right.
And then our boy Adam Green. Big shout out. Got first.
Took it down.
League of
That's
Rotan.
Right. That's right.
And here's another interesting thing with the new meta as well. Votan is a fantastic faction. They play very, very fair, basic Warhammer. They cheat on some things, I guess, with the judgment tokens, but it's not like a huge cheat. Like everyone else,
good.
I know, but everyone else
They
is
got
cheating.
uppy downies. Everybody says they're a very like straightforward, like they play fair Warhammer. They got some tricks.
They got a little, yeah, but okay, they have uppy downy, but everyone can uppy downy. Anyway,
A lot of people can.
yeah, they all have access to it, right? And yeah, there's with their bikes. It has to be in a certain spot. They can tail them out. Like you have to play good, concisive play. But then they just have, I have a transport. I have charging guys.
Right.
I have terminators that charge.
yeah.
I have a deep striker. I do this. Like it's all very. Oh, I get plus one wound and hit on that guy.
Right.
Like it just because you do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. They always kind of struggle a little bit into 1,000 Suns a bit because of just the flamers and their ability to control the combat, and obviously cheat at the game with their movement and get Magnus in there to start killing hecatons, right?
Right.
And then them not being able to smack back with the -1 damage. Like they had some tool, like 1,000 Suns had a lot of good tools against them. Getting the extra AP, so they don't really have invul saves. But now with Thousands getting beaten down so much, I think we're going to start seeing Votan kind of come up a little bit more.
I think that's one of the like mid tables that could see some up
100%
some ascension.
Well, I mean, like, okay, we can't just credit Adam Green, who's arguably one of the best players in Calgary here in Alberta. And he's been playing Votan and been crushing it. But and we have other good Votan players here too. Like Ed's really good.
Ed's super good. Yeah.
I don't know. I went against Ryan. He was pretty good. I went against him at the GT.
Okay,
So like,
cool.
there's some great Votan players.
Yeah.
And they're always going to be at the top tables with good players. But now I think we're going to see a little bit more because their matchups are easier.
Yeah.
They're not like
their toughest matchups got a little bit easier.
right, and they're going to be probably down at least off the mid tables that they can actually maybe push up. That's just some of my predictions. But who knows?
Yeah, like, that's perfectly fair. I'm trying to think what other big changes we saw. We saw like I think Sisters and 1,000 Suns, the biggest losers. Genestealer Cult's probably one of the biggest winners. Who else saw points decreases? I'm trying to think. Necron saw some weird ones. It was just basically like stuff that everybody takes went up a little bit, and then stuff that nobody takes went down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think our I think our fortification went down for some reason.
Oh,
like the
cool.
Convergence of Dominion. I've never seen. Don't quote me. It was weird stuff that went down. Actually, the Doomsday Arcs went down by 10, which made those. That was like everybody took those at least one or two. Not most people took them one or two.
Oh yeah, you need it. Well, right? That's cool.
Yeah, that was weird.
Another big winner, I think, and shout out to Thomas Kershank there because he went 4-1 at the Trident Open as well.
Yep.
With Kroot.
Right.
And they went down in points as well.
That's right.
So they're an interesting army as well because, again, they're that swarm army that comes up, swarms it, dominates the primary, has some big hitters in the back with the hammerheads and riptides, and they can just kind of shoot you off and clog up the board and get a Kroot back. And they're decent in combat. They're obviously shit at shooting, but they got some invols on the shooting.
Yeah.
And now with Sisters Bringer Flame kind of gone, Kroot can kind of step up a little bit because there's not less flamers. Like there's not a Seraphim unit going, oh, hey, here's 96 flamers. Here's 96 flamers. Here's 96 flamers.
Right,
bye.
Yeah.
Right. And then like, oh, there's a Riptide. Hey, Morven. Boom, done. It's game over. Right. Like now they can actually screen out better.
Yeah.
And they decreased in points. So I think Kroot might be the way to go.
Kroot's very cool.
Coming into the new meta. Even though Matt Sector there just won with Monka.
Super good.
Again, big shout out to him. Awesome job. Well deserved. I was with him the entire weekend. He was so focused and
he's laser beam focused when he gets dialed in.
And it was awesome to see. So cool. Yeah, and he took on the whole thing. I think the Monka thing was on Audible because he was going to go Retaliation's cadre, which is the battle suits.
Yep.
And then he ended up switching to Monka just like I don't know, like a couple days prior.
Just for submission or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm just doing it. And then, sure enough.
I'd be curious to hear from him what the reason for the pivot on that.
It's their speed, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
We've been seeing a
I don't
lot
know
of
exactly. I can't remember what he said, but there was a reason.
I'd be curious to pick his brain.
So with all that said, you're a Knights player.
Yes, I am. Love my Knights.
And you love your Knights, and it's am I safe to say that you're going to be bringing him to the next GT?
That is safe to say, yes.
Okay. And why is it that? Like, do you find them better suited to this meta? Obviously, you want to take this. I know you got best overall the last time, so I know you want this one.
I do. This is important to me. Yeah.
It's fine. So what makes them more suited for the meta? What meta changes that you really enjoyed for your Knight army that can actually make it work?
Yeah. So, yeah, I am. For those who maybe don't know, I played my first ever Warhammer 40K tournament almost exactly a year ago. It was this event. It's like the YYC LVO prep blah 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 featuring Friendship or whatever this year. But I am bringing Knights, and to be honest, it's not really. I don't think Knights are probably one of those armies that did okay by virtue of not really getting nerfed that hard. Canis Rex, I can't remember if we mentioned already, but Canis Rex got raised 15 points. That's fine. Perfectly fine. Probably deserved. I actually thought the Lancer would also go up because like Canis and the Lancer was like in 80% of lists. Canis was in 100% of lists. The Lancer was in probably about 80% of lists. But it's not really a meta. Well, they got. Here's the thing. So with Knights, they got a lot better, not because of the current change, but I think it was the previous one where they can go through walls. Fundamentally changed how you play Knights altogether.
And that's super heavy walker.
So yeah, that's the thing that some people do get confused with, right? It's not all Titanic units. It's not all towering units, right? You can't run your Stompa through a wall. Not how it works. It's the super heavy walker rule that is in both Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, for that matter. They both have that rule. The rule previously was so any unit can move through a piece of terrain that's 2 inches or lower. Super heavy previously used to say you can move through pieces of the terrain that are 4 inches or shorter, or models as well. Now it says if you're going through a piece of terrain, not models, mind you, that are 4 inches or taller, you at the end of your move, you roll a die on a 1, you get battle shocked, right? So that's the super heavy walker rule. That was a huge change because depending on what kind of terrain you're playing on, you can go from completely hidden behind a pretty tall wall to suddenly out in the open and fighting, and like you can stage so much easier with your big Knights, right? Like previously the terrain was a huge impediment where other armies got to use the terrain to their benefit. Now we actually get to use the terrain to our benefit as well. So now the debate becomes amongst Knights players, I suppose, do you run 2 bigs, do you run 3 bigs? With the most recent points changes, we finally can actually run 5 bigs. I don't think it's a good idea, but it's cool.
Hey, and again, no slight. A fantastic opponent round 1. He had 4.
Yeah, you had Knights. 4 in the tournament. That's right.
Oh, it was such a fun game.
Yeah.
Like we had
and his army was gorgeous. Yeah, like.
And his
crazy.
dice tray even said 4 big Knights.
I saw that.
It was amazing.
He got a custom dice tray.
And it was so fun to play. And even I remember when we first met up the morning, he's like, damn. Morven Vol, hey?
Yep.
Like,
what are you going to do?
I'm sorry. But super fun. Anyways, but running 4 to 5 big Knights, I think is...
yeah, 4 is...
competitively. Funny enough I just want to comment on one story that he... I may have stomped him that round. It was a crazy win. And we each had a 2-hour break before our lunch break.
Right.
Because the game was over in about an hour.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Later that day, he made somebody quit. I think within turn 2, he the Lancer, was it the Lancer, or it was one of the big damage things that could do dev wounds. He did it to Abaddon on a precision attack.
Ooh, dev wounds.
It had dev wounds.
Oh well, so you can give him dev wounds. Any knight can have dev wounds in combat. It's called Thunder Stomps.
So I think he heroic intervened, and then like a guy was aggressive with his Abaddon, and boom, killed it in one shot.
Sure.
I think he did like 16 dev wounds or 16 mortal wounds, something ridiculous that like it just died, obviously. And we're good. Okay. I remember when we passed by the washroom. I was like, oh yeah, I've had like a 2-hour break. Like what? He's like, I harpooned it. I think it was a harpoon.
I was trying to remember his list. It was a Castellan, Canis, Lancer, and I don't know what the 4th was. It might have been the Valiant, because the Valiant's the one with the harpoon. So that would make sense.
Valiant. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's hilarious.
Bam. Okay, sidetrack. Now go back into this. It was really fun.
No, it's good. Yeah, I think so. The debate amongst Knights players now is, like I said, taking 3 Knights or taking big Knights, 3 Knights or 2. 4, if it is fun, but probably not the most competitive. And the general consensus is it's kind of a play style. Like it's completely based on personal taste. Like there's both good lists within both of those kind of like those builds. Personally, I'm a fan of the 2 bigs because you get more arbiters, right? You're basically looking at, no matter what list you're building two big Knights, 6 to 7 small Knights and an assassin or some kind of ally, or you're doing 3 bigs and then you get like 4 to 5 armigers and then some allies, right, to fill it out. The way I play, I like to play very, and this is kind of how good Warhammer is played, I guess, like the normal game is usually played, is you need trading pieces, right? Like I'm going to put this armiger out. I want to get Area Denial on turn 1. I got to throw out an armiger or something, right, to hold it. Or I want to hold primary, obviously, right? So for my play style, I like having a little bit more armigers. Also in the Pariah Nexus, I've found that having more units is typically better. You can get, you don't have to sacrifice all your units for doing actions. Like if you draw Cleanse and Containment, right? You need a whole bunch of actions to score points. It's kind of helpful to have 2 or 3 extra armigers on the board. Right. So that's my personal play style. I've been listening to a podcast that is specifically for Imperial Knights, which is my favorite thing in the entire world. I'll shout out to the guys at 40K by Night, I believe it's what it's called.
Oh, cool.
They've got 4 episodes out so far, and they've had like the best Knight players in the world on the podcast. Like I'm going to mess up the names, but Reese Davil, I believe is his name, and Brian Jones is part of Art of War. They're like the best in the world. They've had them on giving insight and stuff. So
that's really cool. There's a few good ones out there. Like there's a Sister Act 40K. They just do strictly sisters, and they have Scott Ketchum from Sister Act does their solo one, and then the big guys inspired us, Disgusting Resilient, Aiden, Death Guard Dave, and Will. Those 3 guys just started it right off. I think like a year before we did, cool. And I listen to them all the time, all my car rides.
Yeah.
They do great stuff, and they're on a cool new thing that maybe we can talk about a little bit later. But we're on your Imperial Knights now, and I don't mean to be
not at all. It was it's super cool seeing. Obviously, the Warhammer world is kind of all the same ecosystem, but like these little branch offs and stuff. You can go if you want to deep dive on Death Guard, you want to deep dive on any faction, you can get into it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, back to just like general Knights stuff. Yeah, the moving through walls changed how everything works. It's like that was previously the one of the benefits of running Chaos Knights was moving through walls, because obviously vehicles have trouble with walls. Every army knows that. Like you kind of got to be very careful with your movement and whatnot. But now that Imperial Knights can do it, and only the big Knights, that's why you see almost no big Knights typically in Chaos Knight lists, because it's just kind of not worth it for the points. And the Brigand sheet and the Carnivore sheet are really, really good. They cover like all options basically. But we were kind of discussing before we started recording, the current meta, especially with like Gene Stealer cults and stuff being a thing, maybe is shifting towards more like horde focus. Because one faction we didn't mention getting lowered in price, Orcs. Orcs did see a pretty fair buff. Will they be lighting up the charts? Probably not. They probably need a little bit more rules help than just points changes. But between Gene Stealer cults, Chaos cultists are still kind of out there. They got a pretty hard nerf, but they're still out there. Black Templar, there's a fair, like Kroot, to some degree. There's a fair amount of horde type lists cruising out there in the meta. Knights have a hard time with that, right? They're going to get move blocked all over the place. Like I played against Nate in Edmonton a while back in the team tournament, and it was my Imperial Knights into his Chaos Cultists, and he perfectly move blocked basically half the board. I just couldn't move up from it, right? We ended up like dead tying that game because he played his hordes well.
Was it a tie or was it 10?
It was tie. No, it was 84. Like it was actually it was team tie, but also like dead tie.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
So Knights are not going to be great if that trend continues. Knights are not going to be a great spot because we just don't really have dedicated anti-horde. Like we have the best things we have are like a Avenger Gatling cannon, which is like 18 shots, which is a lot, mind you. 18 shots, strength 6, AP 2, flat 2 damage. It's pretty good, but it's always hitting on 3s, right? So you're dropping a few of those, and then wounding a strength 6 is not. It's good into most horde-ish stuff, but you're just dropping like hits, and then AP 2 is okay with cover. It's going to be AP 1, right? It's just it's not eliminating hordes, right? It's not. Like I know in Necrons at least, if the horde meta gets wild, you're going to see a lot of the Locust heavy destroyers with a lord in it. It's 10 million shots, right? It rerolling hits, rerolling wounds, like it's just crazy stuff.
Yeah,
you don't have that in knights. So for better or for worse, I like playing knights. I finally bit the bullet and bought a lancer, and took forever to like pose him how I wanted, because the static just like lancer pose is like the worst.
You gotta go like shield up.
I got a shield up with like his lance coming up like this. Super fucking cool. It took me forever to do. And I probably should have painted him in sub-assembly before I assembled him, but I was having fun assembling my model, so I just fucking it's gonna be a pain in the ass to paint him, but whatever.
Yeah, that's when you need an airbrush to get in those spots. Like
so I haven't put him on his base yet, so I can kind of manipulate him with my rattle can at least that way. But then once I get into all the nooks and crannies, it's like whatever. I'm probably just gonna pass on the nooks and crannies, to tell you the truth. That's probably my
no one needs to know.
Dry brush some lead belcher in there and call it a day.
Even like I hate building knights. I don't know what it is. I
you hate building them.
I'm building those war dogs right now for Death Guard, and I don't enjoy it. Them. They're too many spikies. They're too many little bits.
Chaos does have more spikies.
Magnetizing them, and I was dumb because I put the shoulder pads over and then I magnetized it, so I couldn't get my finger in.
Oh, you magnetized the arms.
Yeah.
Right, but after you put the shoulders on. Yeah, that's a classic. Classic night error. Don't even go anywhere near.
Hey guys, anyone who's listening, don't put the shoulders on before you magnetize. It creates probably about 45 more minutes of work.
Guaranteed. And especially if you're posing like a big knight, you don't even go anywhere near the shoulder pads until you have your pose down pat, because I had to adjust the angle of the shoulder pads, the angle of the tubes in the arms. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, right? But you can easily do that, right? Like
you can do that after, but if the shoulder pads are in the way, you're limited. You're very limited.
Yeah, that was a classic mistake.
What are you thinking of running in the most upcoming tournament?
I still think I'm going to be on Sisters. Okay. I am enjoying the faction, and I kind of want to run them for the year. Or I've been only running them since May, before their codex. Right. And I had them briefly in 9th. Well, I actually played them quite a bit in 9th. And then I went back to my love of Death Guard.
Your first love.
My first real love.
Well, Necron's first love. Second love.
Yeah, Death Guard. True to my heart.
Okay.
I really enjoying the MSU speedy style. It's like me playing Death Guard. I love Death Guard. It just feels so good to have a 6-inch move on guys, right?
Right.
But there's some pretty cool stuff coming with Death Guard. I think there's some play. I just don't have the models to do what I want to try to do. I only own 6 Death Shroud.
Right. For anybody who watched our last battle report, I think I said next time we see Death Guard, it's got to be 18. Right?
18.
Is that the max?
It's all the talks now in the Death Guard group.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I know Discussing Resilience. I've covered, I think, 2 podcasts now about it. Really, really informative. If you guys want to start getting into that, listen to those guys. They're really in depth. Art of War is covering it too. I think there is a spot for it. I'm interested to see some of the big tournament coming up this weekend, the Worlds.
Next weekend.
Next weekend,
whenever this releases, but
next weekend.
Next weekend in current time.
Yeah. In current time, but I'm super excited to see it. It's such an interesting thing for Death Guard because you're so slow, but these Terminators, they move 4 inches. Okay.
Wild.
Yeah.
I saw this recently on a stream where a guy rapid ingressed his Death Shroud.
Yeah.
And then had a 6-inch charge after he moved, and I'm like, damn, that doesn't feel, 6 inches is good, I guess, but it doesn't feel great.
It's where you want to be, I guess.
Right. Best case scenario is not great.
But here's the thing with them, and this is why I think that particular archetype is pretty good. Death Shroud are bodyguards, so if they are equipped with a leader, they are -1 wound.
Right.
Okay. You do have a 2 CP strat for -1 damage. And then you have your auras, so you can do like your extra AP for your contagions, or you can do the -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill. I think what you want to do if you're going 18 Death Shroud is kind of go after the weapon skill, ballistic skill. And that's just because your guys are already tough. You might as well make them tougher. There's no sense in making them more killy. You might as well just keep going tougher and tougher because you only have 18 of them, right?
Right.
Only
18, yeah.
Only 18. But there's the Death Guard sorcerers that they have in the fight phase, you use their psychic ability on a 2-up, -1 damage to that unit.
Oh, so you have a strat for -1 damage and
a sorcerer has a psychic.
Can do it.
Yeah, but only in combat.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's for both.
Gotcha.
The 2 CP strat's only in combat, but then you would use it for like say Mortarion or like, I mean it is still 2 CP.
So just so I understand, you
yeah.
could have each Death Shroud unit with always -1 damage?
Yeah, technically, yeah, because you have a sorcerer, but they have to pass it.
Right. They got to pass their
they have to pass the
rolls
test
or whatever.
But if they get a roll of 1, it just takes D3 mortal wounds. They don't have it, and then you use 2 CP.
That's crazy.
And then leading the units, and that's -1 a wound, and then you give -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill to anyone in the contagion, and then you also have little Nurglings that can help too.
Yeah.
So the Nurglings, you can rapid ingress them as a defensive move. You can screen them out. You can make them follow the Death Shroud unit. It's not like they're not moving faster than them.
Yep.
Right? So you can make them follow it and then keep them in the aura all the time. So then now not only are you -2 to hit, but you're also -1 to wound if you're stronger. So this is a very, very, very tough unit. And then they hit back. I mean, it's strength 8.
Yep. They still
AP -2 damage.
Yeah.
And 4 attacks. And then it's a lot.
Yeah, it's not great into armor, but it's great into anything, whatever, T8 or lower, which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you're also minusing toughness too.
Yeah. Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, so you can always punch up a little bit, and you get a lot of weight attacks. You're hitting on 2s. Mortarion gives reroll or wound rolls of 1.
Sure.
And the great thing about them too is they're kind of anti-horde. They have flamers.
Right. They do have flamers. That's right.
Right, and their flamers are strength 3, but they're anti-infantry 4-ups. There is 76
which
shots.
covers like a weird case where like they're strength 3, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so then like if it's like in your like Black Templar list and stuff, right? Instead of wounding on 5s, you're wounding on 4s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But say you're going against Sisters or any Kroot or anything like that, you're actually wounding on 2s because you're wounding on 3s because they're -1 toughness.
Damn.
Yeah.
This is good. So as we were kind of discussing it, as you were kind of like running down on like the -1 damage available and stuff like that, kind of sound like the Deathwing Knights a little bit, like Chaos Deathwing Knights.
Yeah, kind of.
Right?
And funny enough, against Death Knight or Deathwing or Death Knight, you have Mortarion. You ignore modifiers.
Yeah, so screw you.
And he went down in points too.
Mortarion. Yeah, he's what, 300?
300.
Like even? That's crazy.
And the Death Shroud went down to 110 for 3, 220 for 6.
Oh, that's so good.
So actually, all that 18 Death Shrouds, 1 Mortarion is still less than 1,000 points.
That's cheaper than Wraiths. That's cheaper than Canoptech Wraiths.
Yeah, but then you need the heroes and stuff. So now you're above
you need
it,
some
right?
support. Yeah,
and Typhus gives -1 to melee too, so you can have Typhus kind of the side with them as well. Deep striking in, rapid ingressing a few, and then like having the -1 weapon skill, blitz skill, and then the -1 to hit melee with Typhus, and then he's still doing his mortal wound bomb.
And you're not gonna. Oh, I guess yeah. You got to get more. I was gonna say you're not gonna run this in the next tournament, but you need to get some.
I need
to get some more. You need only 12 more.
Only 12.
No problem.
Yeah.
3D printer go brrr.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But I think there's some play in there. Like, you have some cultists for your chaff. They're nice and cheap.
Yeah.
Then I saw like one of the Art of War guys kind of play a similar list. I'm so bad with names right now. But he's a fantastic player as well in the Art of War, and he was playing the 18 Death Shroud. And then I watched his after battle report, and it was like. It's interesting because it's like, okay, you do actually want some shooting in it. So then funny enough, his changes that he made his list is the same one I made to his list. And I was like, oh, well, I might be on the right track.
You're on the right track.
Ooh, this feels kind of good.
I know what I'm doing.
Predator. So I added like 3 Predator Destructors in it.
Okay, sure.
Because they're nice cheap tanks, but they got some range, they get some shooting. They're not like completely reliable. I find the auto cannons on them are like meh.
Yeah.
But it's something.
It's got to be the right target, obviously. Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of push up with like, I think like maybe like 1 Death Shroud stays in the field, 2 are in deep strike because you can rapid ingress, or maybe keep 2, it's matchup dependent.
Yeah.
Keep 1 in deep strike, and then you have some cultists and bloat drones kind of doing your secondaries.
Yep.
And then holding your backfield. And then you have little Nurglings falling around.
littlings all over the place.
Yeah, so that's kind of where
like
my
it.
head's at with it.
I like it.
Maybe we'll test and we'll have some proxies because I just don't have that many Death Shroud. But
Easy. No problem.
yeah,
I like it.
maybe add 10 Blight Lords and then add 28 Terminators to a list.
Oh, right, because
Blight Lords are
the
cheap
Blight Lords
too.
are also Terminators, right?
They're-
I was like, what do you mean? Oh, there's 2 types of Terminators.
And I'll see you in turn 5 when I
Two
get
flavors.
there.
Yeah, I played in the Edmonton Teams tournament. We mentioned this was a few months back now. I played into our last round was my Knights into a Death Guard player, and I've played your Death Guard a few times, and you're very good at piloting them. This guy, also fantastic guy, but he made the very serious error of starting his Death Shroud on the table, on like his home objective. We were playing on Dawn of War.
Okay.
I think it was Terraform.
Yeah.
So it was like he was way far back, and just got stuck in his deployment zone, and just they never left his home objective because I just yeeted the Lancer up the middle, and I was like, you're gonna stop right there.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, those
right?
guys they're good.
They're super good. But yeah, you have to be any movement errors get punished pretty heavily, right?
Yep.
It's like any positioning errors is
Yep.
just so pronounced when you have 4 inches of movement, right?
4 inches, and
wild.
then contagion management too is pretty big.
Of course.
That's why like having the blowtorches are so key because you want to, they move 10 inches, they fly, so you can get into some spots. They can fall back, shoot, and charge, which is really cool.
Super helpful.
But that's where you kind of want to push your contagion or having the call to scout because they move 6 inches and then they have 6-inch scout.
Right.
So you can, all right, I'm going to push my guys up and then try to get a contagion on you early
Yep.
or whatever.
That's actually a good point with the drones because they move 10. They're fast for Death Guard, very fast for Death Guard.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just once your contagion is out to like 6 inches, you're zipping them around, getting contagion all over the place.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's
Very good
basically
point.
it. And the big rule that they made, and I want to make this point too, is they do have their detachment rule is sticky, spread the sickness. But a lot of their stratagems and or enhancements benefit off of it being on an affected objective.
Yeah.
So when you sticky it, it's also considered affected. So it actually does its own contagion.
Right.
Okay, so now they changed the rules where if you are on the objective, it will release it then you control it and it got sticky for a command phase and say now it's stickied.
Right.
Now say you come and control it off of me, it's now not stickied anymore. It's not contagion anymore because it's now under your control, and you don't get it.
Right.
But now if I go back onto it and control it for any phase, it comes back to being sticky. So say you had some guys on like near your deployment zone with like three idiots and you just took the objective was clean but it was stickied so it was still in my control, then you put like one guy on it just to take control of it from me. Now it's not stickied. Okay, then in my turn on my movement phase I just move 2 guys on there. I now control that objective. It is now considered sticky at the end of the phase and I get the contagion back on it, and which would extend.
So it's actually even better than that, believe it or not. So the way I understand it is that they've now separated. Here, put me for a quick sec, because I'm cool at explaining. They've now separated the sticky and the contamination as 2 like basically separate things. So if I were to, once you sticky an objective, it's contaminated. We all know that.
Yeah.
If I were to take it back from you, it loses the sticky property. So I do take it from you. You lose the sticky, but you don't lose the contamination.
No, I have to control it back to get the contamination, but it happens right away.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. I just get it back. So we can.
I think
it
it
up.
might be eternally contaminated.
I think it's you mark it as this one has been contaminated before.
Yeah.
And because then if
you take it back, you would always contaminate it.
No, because you have to control for command phase to get sticky again, right? So it's actually only in that phase it comes back to it. So like if I charge you on it at the end of charge phase, I control it. Boom, it's on there for the fight phase.
Right. So once you control it again, you get everything back. You don't have to control it at the end of your command phase. That's how you understand it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it might even be better than that. I've heard a lot of people saying that the contamination never goes away. But that could be a misreading of the rules. You'd know it better than I do. You're more dialed in, so maybe that's just an error on my part. Folks, get in the comments. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I get rules all the time.
We're not going to look it up in real time because that's a lot. I have to dig deep in the rules commentary part on that one. But
well, maybe we'll edit it out so we don't look stupid.
People are here.
Yeah, they're here for the
to see us look stupid.
Yeah, right? that's how we do it.
If you're here for high level commentary, you came to the wrong place.
Suckers. Joke's on you.
You came here to hear your name mentioned every so often because we talk about local players and stuff.
Yeah,
and you like us.
And we just want to talk about Warhammer. We love Warhammer, and that's it. So get
we get rules wrong sometimes.
Get it fucking together.
Get it together.
Yeah, I'm not a pro. So I don't know. I think that Death Guard are in a really good place, and I'm really, really tempted to start playing them again. If I'm gonna do it, I want to do 18 Death Shroud just because. Let's get real here. They're my favorite unit.
I think that's so good. That's such a strong list right now.
But they're also like, what unit? You've seen me play Death Guard for how long? And
Forever.
when have I never had a Death Shroud in my unit?
Always. You play all the Death Shroud you have.
I always play 6 Death Shroud. It's because I own them, right?
Yeah,
I'm never not going to play them unless they get to like 400 points a model. Right?
No, which they're not. Right. Your Death Guard, like we mentioned before, is probably one of those armies that is mid to lower tier that's going to benefit from the rest of the meta coming down a bit.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of play, and you can definitely sneak away. 18 Death Shroud seem hard to chew through.
Yeah, extremely hard. With -1 damage on them? Because they're, 3 wounds each?
Yep.
All your 3 damage stuff doesn't do shit to them, right? It's like, that's brutal.
Well, 3 damage in melee. 3 damage in shooting.
So shooting can never be -1 damage.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
The strat is in combat, and the sorcerer is also in combat.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought one was the other way around. Got it.
And so you can get it, but if you hide it and make sure you get out and for a charge, don't be an idiot. Don't put it in the center.
Don't slam them. Yeah, they're not that kind of tough.
No.
Few things are, in fairness.
Yeah, like I think if you had your 6 destroyers come down, would shoot them right off the board. There'd be.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
With rerolls. Yeah.
Sick.
Necrons. Where are we at with Necrons?
Yeah, where are we at with Necrons? So Necrons saw one of the very few rules changes that we saw in the most recent data slate. They got some points adjustments. Like I mentioned, there was weird stuff that went up that no one really plays. But the rules change was a thing that should have been changed forever ago. Because I think we got the Necron Codex in like December of last year.
Yeah, it was
right?
with
Custodes,
right?
No, it was with AdMech. No, AdMech was with Sisters? No, it was AdMech.
It was AdMech.
It was AdMech,
It was always
right?
one good codex, one bad, right? Yeah.
Which is dumb that's actually a thing. That's
It was.
very much how it works right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the issue, and for Necron players, you'll know this already, but for those who may not be familiar, there's like detachments that don't get played in Necrons at all. In fairness, we have good detachments, so there's not a lot of complaints. They're good in the meta. They're not S tier crazy killing it anymore, but they're still good. We've got our Hypercrypt. We've got our Awakened Dynasty has been doing really well. Canoptek Court had its time in the sun and is okay now. There's 2 other detachments that don't see any love. And there's a good reason for that. There's the Annihilation Legion. What do you know about Destroyers? Destroyer Cult?
Yeah. They reroll ones.
Dude, they don't even... Well, they got lots of rerolls. They're the Skorpek Destroyers, which is what the whole detachment was basically made for because they forgot that Locust Destroyers even existed. All of the detachment stratagems and this detachment rule is all for melee. It's like basically nothing for range. So Locust Destroyers just don't exist apparently. But the detachment is just bad. It's bad. You're much better off because Skorpex saw points reductions over the course of the past year. You're much better playing them in Awakened Dynasty or Hypercrypt or anything else other than their actual detachment, which is not how it's supposed to work, but it is what it is. So that one's been dead for a long time. The other one that you never see is the Obeisance Phalanx. And this was like, is that a word you haven't heard before?
What?
Also, I think I'm saying that word right. I believe it's Obeisance Phalanx. But it was supposed to be like the elite detachment. So like your Lich Guard, your
like Treyarchs?
Yes, Triarchs, Overlords, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that it was all based on keywords. So the strats and the enhancements and like the whole detachment only worked if you had like the Lich Guard keyword, the Triarch keyword, the I think Praetorian keyword, like those keywords, right? The Silent King, the Triarch of the Necrons, did not have the Triarch keyword.
But he does now.
He does now.
Yeah. And don't they have really good stratagems?
Well, yes, very good stratagems. There's a couple of good ones. There's crits on 5s stratagem, which is very good depending on what you're playing with. There's a -1 damage on vehicles strat. Like there is some pretty good strats in there. They basically have Oath of Moment. So you pick a target, and all of your guys with the keyword get +1 to hit and +1 to wound, or reroll hits, reroll wounds.
Okay.
I've never played it because it sucked for a long time. And also, you need like a whole bunch of Lich Guard to play it, basically.
Sure.
So anyway, they changed the keywords. They finally gave the Silent King the Triarch. They gave him the Triarch keyword. That was very nice of them. And they also made it so that nobles, which is basically all your like named characters in Necrons, trigger the like benefit from the keyword. So previously it was just overlords. So no Trazyn, none of the like named characters, which we lost a few when we got our codex anyway. But
Yeah.
long story short, they changed the keywords to work how it probably should have worked from the start.
Okay,
right?
cool.
Suddenly you can play the Silent King and you can do stuff, right?
So now you get the ignore mods.
Now you get your ignore mods. Like nobody was playing Obeisance Phalanx at all. There's some lists popping up here and there. Is it going to be way stronger than Hypercrypt? Probably not.
We gotta get a how do you pronounce it?
Obeisance Phalanx?
Obeisance
two awful words.
Yeah, 2 words. We got to get that on stream, I think. That'd be pretty cool.
It would be I got to go find a list and brainstorm a list. It's tough because you do have access to decent rules. Yeah, I don't know. It's one I have no experience with. I literally have not played it. I think I've played like a couple Annihilation Legion because I like destroyers. Yeah. But it takes very specific models. The other decrease in points we saw was the Praetorian, the not Lich Guard, the other build you can make Lich Guard. They're called Praetorians or something like that. Whatever they're called. Mm-hmm. They went down in points. They're like the teleporty Lich Guard basically. They're good.
Yeah,
they're
like
they have like the rod of the Covenant or something like that.
They used to be called Pariahs back in the day.
That's way back. Pariahs is...
When I'm playing Dawn of War 1, I'm like, can't wait to get my Pariah Legion going, right?
We don't talk about Pariahs anymore.
It's a Pariah Nexus.
Well, yes, that's true. But Pariahs as a unit, I think, got retconned out of existence. Because Pariahs, correct me if I'm wrong, were like humans that got turned into Necrons.
Oh.
I think that's the lore.
Oh, cool.
But we don't talk about that anymore. It's not lore anymore.
Oh, yeah, they don't exist. They're Treyarchs.
They're Treyarch Praetorians, I think.
Treyarch Praetorians. They're still pretty cool.
They're super cool. Necrons are fine in the meta. They're not, again, they're like a lower A tier probably. And that's going to be pretty much almost exclusively based on Hypercrypt, because Hypercrypt, uppy downy, is always strong, no matter what.
Yeah, I recently had a Necron match in the Calgary Warhammer League with Brian Brown. Great player and super fun. His army's gorgeous, that orange and black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
And he's a beautiful model too. But he has been talking that one up, that detachment. So I'm really curious to see.
Oh, the Obeisance Phalanx.
Yeah.
So, Aiden ran it. Aiden ran the Obeisance Phalanx. This was months and months ago. I can't remember which tournament specifically, but he came like, did he win? He might have won the tournament. I don't remember. I have to go back into my tournament history and see. He did really good with Obeisance Phalanx.
Was that RTT, the sweaty RTT?
It might have been. Maybe it was the Sweaty Saturday RTT. Mm-hmm. But like, people have run it. It's not like it doesn't exist. It's just the keywords were all messed up, and it took them actually a year to just make it normal. Like, it should have just been this the whole way.
Oh, wow.
But James is going to do what James is going to do.
You got it.
Trying to figure out why they do things is just don't even fucking
just
bother.
Accept the rules. It's so funny because like I remember when 10th came out and I was just like, I hate it. Like I don't like. I was so into 9th and I'm like, oh, it's so balanced. I'm like, oh, now we have all this other stuff and change is always difficult for anyone. I'm like, hey, do you want to play like a real game of like 9th edition instead? But like we never got that game up. Like no, you just adapt with it. You adapt with the changes and you go with it because they do listen. They do listen to people at least. I know like we can't explain all their changes, but they do listen. And their testers do play the game quite competitively as well. So they do make the moves that make the most sense at that time.
I think that's probably true. I think they definitely have their pulse on the competitive scene. I think that's where they obviously get their marching orders from, which is fine. That's kind of probably where it should be.
Yeah.
Because if you're just playing narrative or you're playing Garage Hammer, you don't really care like what's competitive, what's meta. You're just doing your thing, right?
Yeah,
it's all
you
good.
find a broken combo. Well, that's because you leveled up.
That's dope. You're good. You're better than your buddy that day, right? That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And they've been, from what I've seen so far, they've been very good at addressing the huge issues, like the very glaring, obvious problems, right? Like, for example, I think we were talking before we started recording that the Tempestus Aquilons, I believe they're called.
They're Aqualad to me.
The Aquaman.
Aquaman sidekick.
The temporal Aquamans.
Yeah.
Yeah, the uppy, downy.
Well, that's only WCW that made this change. And then what they're doing is they're changing it from you can only do it in your own movement phase. You can come in on a 3-inch deep strike.
Right. So in your turn, you can 3-inch deep strike.
So before you could just rapid ingress on a 3-inch and
crazy, and the shenanigans ensue.
Yeah, it's just too good. So they changed that, and we know what these types of tournaments, when they make those changes, it tends to cascade.
Yeah, the writing is usually on the wall. If they make a change for LVO or whatever, like it's like, okay, that's probably going to be.
Well, remember last year when they made that change for engagement range? If you're against a wall or behind a 2-8, it was 2 inches. They made that rule. They made that a staple thing, and then tournaments were said, no, we're not doing it.
No, they didn't. No, it actually this is an example. It's a good example of when it didn't translate. So they made the WTC, I believe it was WTC, made a ruling about fighting through a ruin. Right, the whole it's a very complicated rule. I know why they didn't adopt it. It's more complicated than it needs to be. But basically, if you're within 2 inches of the wall, you check engagement range. Basically, it makes it easier to fight through a wall, and it turns off the whole. This whole unit is just over an inch from the wall, so you can't engage with it. Right. Sure. GW has not enforced that rule. It's not written into the rules at all. They've specifically actually noted in, I don't know which rules commentary or players pack, whatever. They've specifically ingrained the inch away into the rules. That was one example of it not translating, actually. So where WTC made a ruling that did not actually make it into proper actual rules.
But I was wrong there. But I just remember, so I misspoke. But I remember when other tournaments, like, they didn't want to do it. Like, I was hearing, like, Rumble's like, no, we're not going to play with that rule. Do you want to play with WCC rules, or do you want to play with that, right?
Sure,
like,
yeah.
And then most people are like, no, we're not playing that 2-inch engagement rule.
Oh, it's wild. Locally, we never did it because it's just like...
It's cheating. Because, like, you can go 2-inch engagement and then consolidate out of combat, and then you can't hit me.
It's super weird. It was super janky. It was like you had to, like, put markers down to, like, indicate which models in a unit are in actually engagement range, and, like... It's been a while since I actually looked at it, because I looked at it and I'm like, dude, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, it's like you put a token on them and they make the charge.
It's so weird. Like it was. I understand they were trying to solve a problem. I get it. I get it. But it was a very inelegant solution. Let's just put it that way. It was not fluid. It was not intuitive. It was.
And I think GW actually has their finger on the pulse to get around these problems with, like, hey, I'm a World Leaders player. I can advance and charge 23 inches, whatever the fuck I want. So I can just go right around. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think get around that problem. Now, if you can block out them, then you can block them out. But then they just go around. And move blocking is part of the game.
Just awkward. Of course it is, yeah.
And it should be.
Yeah, and Games Workshop has ingrained into the rules that this is just how it works. If you want to stand at just over an inch off the wall, it is what it is. Play around it. Everybody's got access to it. So it's like, go for it, right? It is what it is.
Yeah, it's true. It's not
like I will say, as a Knights player, it sucks. I feel it. I feel that tactic keenly.
Yeah.
And there is no play around for it, but it is what it is. It's just like, I'm a stat check. I have my advantages. Armies playing against me has their advantages, right? You got to play to your strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
All good.
Yeah, you're toughest 12 across the board.
Cool. And you bet. And like I said, with the change to big Knights going through walls, you better hope you actually, not only do you need to screen that little strip in front of the wall, you actually get to screen the whole thing. Because if I walk up to a wall, I can just walk right through it, right over top of you. So there's play around it, right?
Yeah.
Right, because I can go over models still.
Yep. Yeah, and you can look into terrain.
I can tow into terrain, and depending on how tall it is, I can shoot into it. Yeah, there's like, I'm not the kind of guy who complains about very often. I'm sure I'd have before, but I don't complain about rules generally.
No, I think the way you complain, and that's why you're such a good like a good sport about stuff.
Thanks,
like, it's like you see it, you're like, God damn you. And then you make another move. Like, I see what you did.
100%.
I'm mad at this.
100%. Because I am definitely that player who's like, shit, I didn't see that. Well played, you son of a bitch. And then I try not to make the mistake for future, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I try not to get in that spot again, because it's just, I think that's not only like a healthy way to play, but that makes you a better player.
100%.
Right? Like
you win more from your failures than your losses.
100%.
Yeah.
Like if you learn from your opponents, you learn from your mistakes. That's how you get better. Like, if you just say, like, oh, this rule sucks, that's why I lost the game. Like, okay, then you're just absolving yourself of responsibility, right? Like, you can never get better if you just think Games Workshop is the reason you lost the game. Right?
Like, them's the rules, man.
Them's the rules, brother.
Like,
We all know the rules, more or less.
more or less. Oh, I
too
never know
much.
the rules. Yeah, I'm terrible at the rules. I just play what I want. I'm like, oh, that's why I play Sisters. I don't want to play rules.
Yeah,
I don't want.
I don't even want to roll dice.
I don't wanna roll dice.
I'm just not going to roll dice.
Nah. And what do you mean, like death card? Oh, everything is just -1. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're good. Everything's minus
I'm
one.
not. I'm not playing
It's
you
fine.
at your level.
Necrons are fair. You haven't played Necrons in a while, eh?
I haven't.
It's been a minute.
I think if a good Silver Tide list came out, maybe I'd play it. I have 60 Necron Warriors.
Well, that used to be the thing in 9th edition, right? Was the Silver Tide was pretty strong, or
Silver Tide. I don't know. There was a lot that was good. I think Silver Tide was better in 10th. The beginning of 10th.
like Index, yes.
Yeah.
When Warriors reanimated like absolute
Whatever
madmen.
they wanted to do, and then you could like do double reanimation.
it was
and like,
crazy. It was wild.
Yeah. Oh.
That was a good time. It was not a good time for the opponents when you had Crypto Thralls that could actually come back and had a 4-up Feel No Pain, and you reanimated like in your command phase and my command phase. And the reanimator had a 12
and in
inch
shooting
aura.
and in combat.
Dude, it was nuts. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, one died in combat. I get a reaction.
I get 6 back.
He never died.
So good.
And then you just run around with like, your Lich card, your 20 Necron Warriors,
Yeah.
and then one had Orkin on it for a 4-up invul.
Yep.
Yeah, that was something else.
Index was fun.
And everything had a hero on it because you got to get +1 hit.
Of course, yeah, because you were playing Awakened Dynasty effectively, right? Yep. It's good times.
Well, we mentioned earlier we got that big tournament coming up, in over the weekend there. Depending on when this episode comes out and when you guys listen to it, of course. But there's a World Championship. Was it WCW? So
WCW, World Championships of Warhammer in
Atlantic City,
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. So not a gambling place.
Not a gambling
Damn.
place. I mean, I'm sure Atlanta has a casino or two.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
And we know a few people going.
Yeah.
Like there was some golden tickets. Everybody who's familiar with kind of the competitive Warhammer scene will know that some bigger tournaments were giving out golden tickets, which were your free pass into this event. I think it covered like all or a portion of flights too. Like it was a pretty sick deal. Like
Yeah.
if you won these big tournaments, you got to go to this tournament. It was basically, as I understand, invitation only. So you got to have a ticket.
Yeah.
I don't think you could buy yourself in.
Nope,
in.
you
Like you
can't.
had to just be Charlie in the Chocolate Factory and get your golden ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
And
is
there was
dope.
at the Classic there was 2 given out
There was 2 given out
at the Alberta Classic.
to best general and overall.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there was Fraser Perry got the first place at 6-0,
Yep, that's right.
and then there was Thomas Walker.
Thomas Walker did get it. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Walker. Do we know any other local guys that are going?
I
I think a couple of the Edmonton guys, Trident team. I think
think-
Kieran is going.
think Kieran's going.
I think Scotty B is going.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, amazing players. Amazing players, good
Yeah,
guys.
good.
I can't think of any other local guys off the top of my head. You said, I don't think Matt got one from the last win.
I don't think he's going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Did David get one?
No.
David didn't get one, hey?
No, David and not Adam.
Adam didn't even get one. Oh, boy. All
No,
right.
no.
All right. So, yeah, maybe just a couple guys from local Calgary going to represent.
But
in Atlanta.
a few good Canadian players like Riley Tremblay,
Sure, like
Brendan
Team
McKenzie or
Canada type
Mick Work.
guys. Yeah.
They're all going. All the Team Canada guys. A bunch of Art of War guys are going.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. I don't know what they're all bringing. I mean, I know what I think Thomas Walker's bringing Blood Angels, and then
cool.
which is pretty cool. He's been tearing it up.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Blood Angels are very strong.
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
For sure.
And then Fraser's obviously bringing his world leaders.
Fraser's bringing us World Eaters. We won't spoil what his list.
No,
'cause he is,
I know what his list is. I ain't doing it.
Nope, not on stream. Definitely not, or not on this.
He runs 3 Agrons.
Cass, we said we weren't gonna. We said we weren't gonna spoil it.
Damn. Well, he comes back 4 times. So
Cass, don't spoil. What the heck?
no, I'm really excited for him. I have a good feeling of where he's at and where he's positioned. And we've all played against him.
Yeah, for
we've
sure.
all seen it.
Yeah.
We know he's focused.
Yeah, he's a great guy too.
Yeah. And fantastic. So I'm really excited for him to do well here, and I'm cheering for him.
Fraser's
Sorry,
like,
Thomas. I like you too, man.
yeah, Thomas, you're cool too, but
Yeah.
Fraser's just dreamy. Okay, so
yeah.
Fraser's like we had him on the podcast. Everybody's hopefully familiar with Fraser. We had him on for our most recent World Eaters faction focus.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a Matt Sector in that he's like a Warhammer savant.
Yeah.
Like he just knows his army so well, and like you can't catch him with his pants down. There's not gonna be no mistakes. There's little to no mistakes. You really have to play at like a next level to even compete with a person like that.
Well, he's his greatest strength is movement, and Willie just have great movement, and he's really good at movement, and that's exactly what makes it so good. I really enjoy always playing him. I always learn something, maybe my own mistakes, and we played yesterday, and we sat there like, where did you make a mistake? We found one or two little ones I made a mistake on.
Sure.
But then I go home and I hyper analyze, and I'm like, no. There was other ones I could have maybe done this, and like maybe understood the matchup better to figure out where I needed to be. And that's just what you get with that when you come to a faction specialist. Like, they just know. They don't have to think about the game anymore. They can just think about the puzzles in front of them.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing. When you go into like players like us where we play multiple armies, it's like you can kind of get skewed up a little bit because I just go into every match and do the exact same thing. right. And it's not saying that's not like, that's not easy to get to. Like that's highly skilled.
Yeah,
and if you're a specialist, it's a great thing to have on teams. It's a great thing to have on your utility belts for when you're going into tournaments.
Yeah, it's like playing with a person who is on that level. If you are the kind of person who, like we kind of mentioned before, if you can be introspective and be like, okay, where did I mess up? Right? Don't blame it on the dice. Don't blame it on the rules. If you can like get your butt kicked by a very, very good person and be like, like Fraser, Matt, Adam, these like high skill level players, those are where you have to learn. If you don't learn from those people, man, you are missing out. Like that is that is a teacher taking you to school.
Yeah.
And you need to be like, whether it's close, whether you get your butt kicked or you win. Man, if you pull off winning against those guys, great. We'll be very excited to see how they perform in WCW. Any predictions for? Should we maybe make this interesting? And like,
dude, what about the $20 you owe me? Is that what you want to put on the line here?
I forgot about that.
On stream or on
okay, hold on. So on
podcast.
Stream or on podcast, right? We're on streaming, whatever.
Yeah.
Chat. Don't get mad at me. Comments, don't get mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm currently negative $20. All right.
Yeah. Negative 20
on recording. Hold me to it. Let's go double or nothing.
Okay.
Double or nothing. All right. Double or nothing. Just to make it interesting.
All right. What do we got?
Let's both pick two factions for first place. Let's just go for first place. What faction is taking it down? And I'll let you pick first because I owe you $20.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
Who's taking it down? First place.
Oh, that's a good question.
Faction, not the person. Obviously, there's tons of people coming down. We don't know them all. Let's just say faction. Where do you think we're at?
I think I got to say Genestealer Cults.
That's spicy. I know they're good right now.
Yeah.
I wonder if...
But I think...
I believe his name's Innes. I wonder if Innes is going. I think he probably is going.
But I think... and only because I think that they're so complicated to play and also complicated to play against. They play both reactive and reactionary games. Maybe some people are ahead of the meta on the 3-inch deep strikes and are adding in what's that allied guy? The Vindicator?
No, the one that denies deep strike?
Yeah.
That's the Navigator.
The Navigator, yeah. You got the Navigator. You got a few other pieces like maybe some Astartes that can do that as well to push back that. But then you can just hold out and dominate primary. And I think an army like that is that piece that can play a lot of the game right.
Sure. And
with their points decrease, it's very hard for me not to lean towards that.
I like it. I think that is a crazy choice. I think it's a bold choice for your first round draft pick. I like it.
All right.
I like it. Geez. You know what? It's gonna be a cop out, but I want to win my $20 back. I'm gonna go with Sisters.
Sisters.
I think Sisters, even though they saw a fairly significant nerf, I think they're still in a fantastic place. I think they've got multiple detachments that still do very well. Sure, you're gonna lose a utility piece or two to keep the list that we saw, say, a month and a half, 2 months ago. I think they're just so strong. They play the game of Warhammer well. They trade well. They punch up. I think Sisters will be my first round draft pick.
Okay.
What do you think of a second round with their cast?
Well, and here it is. It's going to be similar to Sisters.
Okay.
It's going to be similar play style. A lot of fun. Drukhari.
And
And I think because Skari is involved.
Is Skari going? Skari has to be going,
Yeah,
right?
he's going.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that Yukari are in this weird, unique place as well. They did see some point increases, but point decreases. They're kind of in that weird, like, I think their average list like went up like 10 to 100, like nothing crazy.
Basically,
yeah. And I find that their play style is just, use a beast swarm them into the deployment zone, get everything on sticky with your Calibite Knights.
Yep.
Move around, go back into transports, or not even go back into transports, and just like use the pain tokens to get your charges in. Use your pain tokens for rerolls. Like you can use a lot of your resources, which feels like a lot like Sisters would.
Right.
They do hit harder in combat than most armies do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they
And
crush.
they hit hard in shooting. Scourge are nuts.
Yeah, and with some haywires and stuff. Like I think
yeah,
and they actually been coming back off the Dark Lances, going more haywires and Dark Lances on the vehicles.
Sure.
And then having Venom split up units, then you got the MSU style. I think that's like exactly kind of where you want to be. There's a lot of different types of ways of playing it. I think that'd be my second. So I got Yukari and Genestealer Cults.
Yukari and Genestealer Cults. Cass, you went like very exotic. You went for the deep cuts.
Well, hey, it's a rock paper scissors format, and I'm going for the ones that can beat the other ones.
You're going what? Okay, well, out of rock paper scissors, Yukari and what was it? GSC are definitely your paper, right? They're paper. They're weak,
yeah,
but
sure.
they cover. Anyway,
they're gonna kill the rock. Well,
so
no, I want the thing that kills the scissors. So they're the rocks.
No, but you can't be the rock. The rock is like the tough armies.
Like the best armies. The best army is the rock.
Listen, get in the comments. Tell us
yeah, let's
which
see.
factions are paper, which factions are scissors, and which factions are rock.
Well, I'm not considering the factions as the archetype towards like a scissor or a rock.
Get into this, Cass. Talk to us.
I'm saying if the best faction is a rock, then they
I don't know. There's no between rock, paper, and scissors. There is no best faction. It's a circle. It's a yin yang.
Hear me out. The best faction is the rock. So say like last before Dad say scissors were the best faction, they're the rock. Okay, they beat scissors, which is everybody else, and then you need to beat.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand why rock is the best. Why is rock the best?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
If the game is rock, paper, scissors, there's
you got to keep this to the best one, and you got to want to beat the one that's beating that one.
No, I'm looking at it as a more thematic. Like paper plays this way, rock plays this way, scissors plays this way, right? And one is good against the other one, and not good against the others. I'm getting deep. You're just being like rock is the best.
Okay. Here's this.
What is this?
All right, I got a better explanation.
All right, go.
Okay. So let's just say paper is the best.
We're starting at the same page.
Just hear me out.
I'm listening.
If paper is the best army in the game, and so everyone goes to a tournament and they try to bring a list that beats the best army in the game.
Got it.
They're all bringing scissor armies. Well, I want to be the one with the rock army.
Right.
Because I'm going to be able to kill the scissor when it's at the top tables.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
That's where my mind goes.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you're crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm
But I do understand.
Jakar Genestealer Cults, I'm crazy.
I at least understand what you are saying now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got sisters. I'm gonna go boring strong picks. I think to counter your deep cut, I'm gonna say paper armies. I'm gonna go Astra Militarum. I'm gonna go with the guard. They saw
That's a good pick.
we didn't really touch on them as far as their changes goes. Aquilons are nerfed for this event, which is I did factor that into my calculations, my Necron brain calculating obviously.
Yeah.
Beep boop boop. The zeros and ones, so many zeros and ones. But I think the Aquilon sheet is still strong enough to play for sure. Sure. I think the big change about the tank commander becoming squadron, no regimental, whichever the keyword that the tanks get, regimental, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Astra Mill players. You got the keyword that all the other tanks have, right? So he can order himself.
Yeah.
He can benefit from lethal hits into vehicles and monsters.
Yeah.
And he did go up in points, but that's at 25 points is a perfectly reasonable points increase for that buff.
Yeah.
I think they play the game very well. I think you're still running a whole bunch of Bulgrin. They went up in points. I think you just take that on the chin and still run a whole bunch of them. Maybe run 2 instead of 3. 2 instead of 3. I think the Astra Militarum index just has so much depth, similar to like maybe a Sisters
I agree.
pool of units that you just have all the tools. And if you're good at playing the game, you're going to be good with guard. Your orders and your deep striking 3 inches, like that is just such a strong toolkit that you like. I'd be curious to see what the lists are that go, because you can go kind of the Lehman Rush style, because Lehman Rush are dirt cheap. Like if you go like for the basic Lehman Russes, they're 2-up armor saves and a bunch of wounds. Like they're strong as hell. They're tough as hell. And then you have all your infantry to back them up. I think my 2 picks were going to be not as exciting as yours. I'll give you that. Yours are exciting. Mine are just like vanilla ice cream.
Istermill, I think you're onto something. I think that's going to be. They seem more rocky to me, so you know.
Yeah, I'm picking. All right, wait, no. If you're picking paper, I'm picking rock. Anyway,
sisters are pretty. Paper.
Let's not get into this too much again. Yeah. I'm going Astra Militarum, the guard, and I'm going sisters.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, if you what are your guys' thoughts in the tournament? Obviously, if the tournament's over by now and you know what's up, then comment there. And when you hear this,
we'll release this before that.
Before
sure. Next week.
For sure. But what do you know? What do you think about our picks? And we'll put this as a short too. Maybe I'll get some stuff going.
Yeah. Get your predictions down in the chat or down in the comments. Mm-hmm. I'm already a live streamer now. I just don't even know what the terminology is anymore. Get your comments down into the comments. Tell us what you think will win, and you'll win $20 internet dollars. Congratulations.
Yeah, or Cass will win 40.
Yeah, we are double or nothing. I eventually have to pay up. I think
we'll see what happens. We'll see and I don't know the players that are going to win it, but I think those are the factions that are going to.
I like it.
Yeah, we're going to see it.
Good predictions.
Awesome. Well, hey, do you want to send us out?
You got it. Once again, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for our podcast. Me and Cass are overwhelmed with the support and the subscriptions and all that good stuff. So we've thank you very much. All I can say. Never forget, as always, to like, comment, subscribe, and punch that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Bloodbath Tactics.
Boom.